Welcome to TYT Sports. Francis and Jason here with you. We're going to go over a proposed bill in the state of Washington that could drastically affect Seahawks games. I'm going to get right into it. Basically, the bill that's on the table for the state of Washington would allow gun owners who have a concealed carry license to bring guns into any public building or any building, I'm sorry, not any public, but any building that is on a public space or on public property. And in this case, CenturyLink Field, where the Seahawks play, is on public property, and the convention center in Seattle, for example, is also on public property. Now, CBS News has a couple quotes from the bill itself and in terms of what it would mean if it were to get passed before we break into discussion on this. It is not currently illegal to carry a firearm into a game under Washington law, but CenturyLink Field, as well as Safeco Field, which is where the Seattle Mariners play, and any other stadium are allowed to prohibit folks from bringing certain items, including firearms, into stadiums. This is pretty much known, like you can't bring bags into stadiums or water bottles into stadiums. They continue to say House Bill 1015, proposed by 3 Republican members of the State House of Representatives, would eliminate the stadium's ability to, quote, prohibit persons with a valid concealed pistol license from carrying a concealed pistol in any facility or any grounds of a facility, end quote. And they lastly added this for more context in terms of the new section that was added to the Chapter 36.102, all a part of this bill that's being proposed. A local governmental entity may not, whether by law, ordinance, regulation, rule, policy, or contractual agreement, prohibit persons with a valid concealed pistol license from carrying a concealed pistol in any stadium, convention center, arena, or similar facility that is operated, managed, administered, controlled, or maintained by local governmental entity or leased or rented to a private or public entity by the local governmental entity. Legal writing is the most boring thing in the history of the world, but what's important about this legal writing is it could have some drastic implications on what you can and cannot bring into a stadium. Again, proposed bill. This isn't something that's been passed. However, it does beg a discussion. It begs a major question. What could possibly be, Francis, the good of having a concealed carried pistol in a stadium with over 100,000 people, where there's alcohol being served?
I just don't know. I don't know what these 3 Republicans are doing, whether they feel like they need to fill out a timesheet. So they're like, got to put this proposal in. I've got fuck all else to do with my life, so I'm going to put forward this ridiculous bill. Do you not have more important things to do other than trying to file to get guns allowed into areas such as this field, where, as you mentioned, there's already going to be an environment that is people are there to enjoy the sport, to enjoy each other's company. So by what means do you feel necessary to carry a gun into an environment like that? Like, carrying a gun into that environment means that you're expecting that you want to protect yourself in that environment. And as far as I'm aware, everywhere in the United States, people feel that they need to have a gun on them more often than not to protect themselves, right? But if you're bringing a gun into a sporting environment, you're already putting forward an aggressive tendency, an aggressive environment where you feel that you're going to have to defend yourself. It's just not needed. It's ridiculous. We're trying to move in the other direction. So, yeah, I understand the Republicans. This is a direction that they want to push away from. They want to be more gun-friendly in this world, as we've seen. And in my point of view, it's just a ridiculous argument. But I just don't get don't they have more important laws to be looking at? Don't they have more important things to be doing whilst in office rather than pushing forward in a place like Seattle as well, where I'd imagine it's a little bit more progressive, where they'll be fighting against this?
So one of the things that there's a couple of frustrating headlines that I found when it came to this story. For one, a lot of them are just putting it on what they've now titled Trumpism, which is frustrating because one of the things when it comes to gun culture in the United States, and I'm friends and I know a lot of people that I grew up with that have concealed carry permits. A lot of people actually don't know this. Friends that have concealed carry permits, all of which are extremely well educated on the gun laws in this country, and all of which are extremely responsible gun owners. So much to the point of, like, I get to have these dialogues with them, and I'm always interested to hear their side of the story because I'm someone who's always been anti-gun my whole life. However, it doesn't mean you can't have those conversations. And what I find so remarkable about this specific proposed bill, for one, state of Washington is a blue state. It's most likely not going to get passed. However, as the Seattle Times put it, what should be considered a reputable news source is, well, Trump is a man, so just because it's a blue state doesn't mean, now with Trump as president, anything can get passed. That's not how it works, guys. That's not how government ordinance works. It's not how bills get passed in the first place. So that's frustrating to see. Number two, the misinformation when it comes to gun culture in the United States. Again, I'm not defending it. What I'm defending here is to be informed. Do you know how many people on MSNBC, CNN, and I'm missing a few, but just those two off the top of my head, think AR-15, the A stands for assault. It's Armalite rifle. Nothing to do with being an assault rifle. Yeah, it's a scary looking gun, but it's frustrating because you watch what is supposed to be reputable news pundits talk about gun culture, and they go, well, the assault rifles that they're it's not what that is. It's an Armalite rifle. It's the company. It's a brand name from like the 50s, maybe before that. So I think it's ridiculous that this bill is on the table. I think it's ridiculous that it's getting, there's even grounds to make this legislation. But what's fair is fair in our Constitution is they are allowed to propose those bills. What I can't understand, though, is exactly what you're saying. There's alcohol served at this establishment, let alone the fact that I don't think that you should be able to bring a concealed carry pistol into any public space that has thousands of people, let alone 80,000 people on any given day. We watch fights break out at the Chiefs-Raiders game on Thursday Night Football. The fact that someone could possibly in the future have a gun in that situation doesn't seem like the safest means, especially when they don't necessarily allow at certain points in the NFL off-duty police officers to bring their guns into a stadium if they're still working in a public safe sense is what I'm looking for in that word.
I agree with most of what you're saying. The one point is that the Trumpism side of it is I think it needs to be taken into account because I do think that Republicans are going to feel like they have more leeway to put forward proposals like this. And also, taking the Trumpisms into this environment, you're mentioning people, there's going to be sports rivalries and people are going to get heated and tension.
That's what I don't want, is them to have a gun in that situation.
And I think that include that with Trumpisms is you're going to get, as we've seen, a spike in hate crimes, a spike in confrontation back and forth. And if you put that all together, it just creates an environment where you don't want more guns in an environment like that. The idea of sports is to be a sanctuary away from the bullshit that we see in everyday life. To go into an environment and just feel like you're there to watch your sports teams. Yeah, there's going to be arguments, fights break out, but they shouldn't ever spiral over to a fatal tragedy, which we see happen in everyday life with simple altercations as traffic stops. And these things happen that should not be happening in this country. So why promote something that can potentially put more people at risk of I'm not saying everyone's going to be at risk, but there are going to be individuals there that will take this as a reason to be emboldened, as a reason to use their firearm to get a message across, whatever else. And I just don't think it's necessary. That's the only thing.
What I'm curious about, and I wonder if there could be any actual accurate statistics on this, is how many people have guns in their glove compartment in the parking lot of stadiums.
Probably many.
I'm not sure how you can find an accurate representation. Now,
surveys.
Stereotypically, one would assume the Dallas Cowboys stadium parking lot would have more guns in the glove compartment than, let's say, the New York Jets parking lot in New Jersey. That could possibly be true.
That's definitely true. There's an open carry law in Texas, so you're going to have a lot more people feel the right to have their gun.
The only reason I'm saying possibly is because I do not have the literal statistics in front of me, so I'm not going to. I mean, again,
I'll make the accurate assumption.
You can make.
I'll take the bullet for you. No pun intended.
The educated guess.
Yes.
Educated guess. I'm curious about that too, just because. You don't hear the story so much because I hope they don't happen that much, that a gun was brought out to handle a confrontation outside a stadium. I just don't think they should be brought into any public space, or the convention center, Safeco Field. I don't see the need for that.
Well, you see what just happened recently with the tragic case of the former NFL star, where guns, unfortunately, are used to handle any aggressive situation. If they're there, more often than not, people will use them if they feel that legally they can. And they'll try to bend the laws in whatever way. So when it comes down to a law that's passed, and with that ever so present constitutional argument, they're going to find, if they find ways to get guns into more environments than not. It's not the Republicans in this situation are not pushing this because they firmly believe that more people need to have the right to have their guns in a stadium or anything. It's just another level to prevent it from going the other direction. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so it's like, all right, we've got it in more places, which means we can't have it in less places.
I agree with you there. Interesting conversation. Seahawks fans, Mariners fans, Washington State residents, what do you think about this proposed bill that would allow concealed carry pistols to be allowed into stadiums and convention centers that are on public grounds. Again, the irony is you can't bring a bag into a stadium, but you possibly can bring a gun into a stadium. It's a little bit ironic. Comment below, like, favorite, subscribe. Let us know what you think. As always, at Francis_Maxwell, at Jason Rubin 91. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you want to be notified on TYT Sports.
Oh, bell.
As H3H3 put it, you have to double subscribe.
Ding, 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 ding.